Welcome to Connecting with Corinne, the podcast where I help you find your community one story and connection at a time. I'm your host, Corinne, and each week I explore inspiring conversations that connect us to the world around us, spark new ideas, and help build stronger, more meaningful connections, whether it's through personal stories, thought-provoking discussions, or shared experiences. We're here to bring diverse perspectives to the table. So let's dive in and start. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Connecting with Corinne. And I have a special guest today. His name is Ben Duff. Hi Ben, how are you?
I'm very good. Thanks. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you, Ben. So, Ben is a musician and he plays with a band called the Petty Larceneers here in Calgary. And they are kind of a ska punk band. And I actually met Ben through my friend Derek. So, Derek and I play rugby together, and he was on my podcast in season 1. So, check him out. He was talking about rugby and Warhammer and Bitcoin and all the things. And he introduced me to Ben. So, welcome, Ben. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. So, like I said, Ben is a musician. He plays bass, guitar, and you do the backup vocals for the
hmm
band, and you also write the lyrics. So, just tell us a little bit more about yourself, Ben.
Sure. So I'm British. I was born over in the UK. I traveled around a lot. I lived in Australia for a year. I lived in New Zealand for a year. I've always said been very blessed with my life. Just getting to travel around a hell of a lot, and then ended up moving to Canada. I worked in Europe for a few years after traveling, and then came over to Canada to enjoy the snow. Just came originally to BC for the first ski season over in Sun Peaks. Loved it so much, and then I was looking for a summer job, and I ended up landing in Banff. And after that, it was kind of like that was the place I wanted to be. So after a little bit of fussing backwards and forwards between here and the UK, especially with COVID, as I'm sure you can imagine, ended up back here again. And then I met a girl. We moved all the way over to Squamish on the West Coast and all the way back to Calgary again. But yeah, now I'm based here and loving life.
That's amazing. And I know you were telling me just kind of in passing that you've done a lot of music as well in
I,
the UK.
Yeah, I did a good amount when I was at university, obviously, but when you start traveling, it's very difficult to carry around a full rig with you when I was at university. Through my high school years as well, I can't even remember half of the bands that I think I played in at some point. I played drums for a jazz band for a little while. I played guitar, I played bass, I did vocals for all sorts of different styles of music, indie rock, punk rock. Mostly rock, I'm not gonna lie, but I definitely know where my roots lie. But yeah, tried to play around a lot of emo, a bit of the old post-hardcore stuff if we're trying to make it sound grown up, but it was definitely an emo band. Toured around the UK a little bit, managed to make it all the way up to Scotland and back down to London again. So, and being based out of London and seeing the scene, it's a very interesting experience for sure.
So, what's the music scene like in Europe and in London?
It really depends so much on which genre of music and which city that you're in. So London itself is obviously a huge city. It's so big that there's so much going on. My band, we were kind of playing at the peak, kind of the peak time for emo bands, but no one ever came to see us play. I mean, I love those guys. They're still some of my best friends, but we had like five fans, maybe maximum. Like hardly anyone ever saw us twice because there was just so much else going on. It's such a huge city. We could have been way up in the northwest and someone wanted to see us in the southeast, you know. And in some ways, it means you can travel around and visit all these different venues. But because there was always some bigger band playing somewhere else or something that was cooler or who was something else going on. It just meant that it was very, very hard. And also the genre of music that we were playing was really kind of I mean, emo is for the suburban kids. We had to get out of the city rather than playing for these shows. We did notice that indie rock was doing really well if you kind of were very introspective and had a very good sad boy look to you. Then you seemed to do a lot better than we were doing, that's for sure. But yeah, it was very interesting. I lived in Birmingham for a few years as well. That was where I was actually based out of for university. I moved down to London after that. And yeah, Birmingham was an interesting one as well. Again, if we played out in the suburbs, it's because there was less going on, it seemed to draw more people in. But if we played in the city centre, there was always some other band who was bigger and cooler than we were. So it was always a bit of a struggle.
But I find, because I lived in England for a little bit, it was just a year, I just found there's so many pubs, and I feel like the music scene would be a little bit more vibrant than compared to here.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there was so many options. I remember I took a trip up to Liverpool at one point, and there's live music everywhere in Liverpool. But what was amazing is there was people listening to this live music. There wasn't a charge or anything at the door. It was just a regular pub, and there's a band playing, and they're playing original music, not just covers, and doing a great job and really entertaining the crowd. And this was just kind of normalized, and people would actually, if they were good, they would kind of stick around and check them out. And if they weren't a fan, then kind of people were just kind of wandering through, just checking out various bands, which seemed like a really healthy way to have a scene. And it seemed like a great place to be playing. And I was just like, oh, why aren't we playing here? But yeah, we'd be playing shows and we'd be charging like less than $5 for the tickets entry, but because people had to pay just to get in, it just was scaring people away. And I think again, it depends on the genre of music as well. If you play sort of kind of more generic rock or a bit of indie rock or whatever's kind of like the cool thing, then obviously you're going to pick up a little bit more. For a while, I lived in Brighton as well. This was about 5 years after London. And amazing, amazing place. Everyone always told me how good the music scene was there. And I just couldn't find it. I kept on going to these indie rock shows with a friend of mine, and that was like really well supported. But I was like, where are all the punk rock bands hiding? But I don't know whether I was just out of touch. I think it probably was because lots of people, they were like, what do you mean you couldn't find it? It's like, I don't know where it was. Where were these amazing venues? But yeah, that's the way it goes.
So how did you, with your bands, how did you connect? Did you just talk to pubs and play, or how did you connect and create connections out there?
In Europe, it was just finding venues that we could kind of put on a show. A lot of the time, there was a lot of like pay to play kind of slightly awkward stuff, but you'd find a venue that would put on local bands and like smaller bands, and you'd kind of go and talk to the promoter, and they'd be like, yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to buy 50 tickets for like £5 each, and that's 250 quid. That's like $400. And then they were like, oh yeah, but you sell them at £10 a ticket, and then so that way you make all of your money back, and then you double it if you sell all the tickets. And they're like, I don't think we're going to sell this many tickets. So there's a lot of pay to play scams, which were definitely not cool. But other places would just be like, if you can bring in a crowd, then we'll split the cover. Or when I was in Birmingham, there was this local pub that just had a basement.
Hmm.
And they basically said you can borrow the basement for free. You're in charge of everything. But if it's quiet, then you owe us 50 quid. And if it's busy enough and you make some money on the bar, then it's free. And that was it. And I was so basically we just tell everyone to come down and start drinking.
Nice. Yes. That's always a good way to promote it. Just come watch us play, drink.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, hey guys, there's alcohol here. You're at university. You want to drink alcohol, right? That seemed to do the job.
And how do you find it? Because I know you just came from tour. You're in Alberta. So what was that like?
It was an amazing experience. It was super nice. Like I mentioned, I'd kind of toured around in the UK a little bit, but for the most part, it was just kind of one-off dates here and there. We'd go to other cities and mostly play empty venues in other places. Whereas here in Alberta, it was a little different. We found that each of the venues, for the most part, so we played Edmonton and Red Deer. We played like regular kind of music venues. And then the next two dates after that were festivals. But the first two dates, so these are just regular venues, and they brought the locals down. There were people who came down, especially to the Red Deer show, and they were like, we don't care who's playing, this is Red Deer. There's nothing else going on, so we're just going to come and check out some bands. These are the punk rock kids who are just like, yep, curfew's at 11 o'clock, so long as we're home on time, our parents don't mind, and we're going to watch whatever band is playing this week. And we were just super stoked that they liked us enough, and they bought some of our merch, and they seemed to dance along, so that was great news. Some of them had to go home a little earlier than others, which was a shame. We were the last band on, so some of them missed their set. But some of them bought our shirts and then left anyway. It was like they didn't even see us play, and so we're gonna have to go back and make sure we get a show for those guys. And then the festivals, I mean, a lot of the music festivals here in Alberta, it doesn't get too crazy, especially during the day. It's a lot of kind of chilled out stuff, but there's a lot of bands and there's a lot of other folks around and they're just kind of chilling out. But yeah, it was amazing to be part of such a kind of well-known festival. I don't know if you've heard of Moments Fest, but it's a big part of kind of the Alberta music culture. I heard about it years and years ago, back when I first moved to Banff in 2018, and being able to play that was really an honor. So that was super cool.
That's cool. And how did you get connections to be part of a festival?
Well, I mean, a lot of them, they just kind of put out open applications. They'll listen to a whole bunch of different bands and they just kind of pick their favorites, I guess. If they've heard of you, then that helps. If they've met you, that really helps. And it turned out that Moments Fest is kind of based around one of these bands, which is a local band called No More Moments. They're based out in Siksika, which is where the festival was. And it turns out the guitarist for this band actually did sound for us at the Rec Room in Calgary a few months back. Maybe he recognized the name and remembered us and was like, maybe, or maybe he didn't have anything to do with it. I'm just kind of guessing. But yeah, we'd met him before and it was like, oh, sick. It's the same guy. Such a lovely guy. He did sound for us again. And the quality was amazing on stage. It was really, really cool. And it was just like really nice to bump into these people. But yeah, I've noticed that the Calgary scene seems a lot tighter. It's smaller in a way, but also like really close knit and really designed around like bands helping each other out as much as possible. Like someone will do sound for somebody else. This guy's gonna come over and like sing vocals for this band because their vocalist is off sick, and people switching around and kind of intermingling a lot. But yeah, a lot of support from the other local bands, which helps a lot.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, and that's how you build the community, right?
Mhm.
I haven't been out to see a lot of live bands lately, but I know there's so many bars that have just closed.
Yeah. I mean, I keep on hearing about this, but obviously I've only been here for a couple of years, so I don't really miss those bars. The only one I really know is that Broken City changed into Modern Love, but it's still there. It's just kind of under new management. But yeah, like one thing that I've really loved about Calgary is the fact that, so I don't know if you've been to the Blocks, which is a relatively new venue. It's an all ages venue and they do an amazing thing. They put on shows all the time. But once a week they do Rockin' for Dollars, which again, something I heard about for years. When I was living up in Banff, I was in a covers band with this guy who came from Calgary. He was like, "Oh yeah, you got to play Rockin' for Dollars. You got to play." And I was like, "What is it? I don't know." I didn't really get it, but it's you don't have to be good. You just come, you play 15 minutes, and that's it. And everybody's really supportive, and they recognize the talent. If there's some talent there, they'll be like, "Okay, this is good." And it's an amazing place to meet loads and loads of other upcoming bands because some of the more established bands will just go back and they'll just play there just because. Maybe they're testing out some new songs. Maybe it's a celebration. We played a friend's birthday party there. It was their special birthday party show, and they got to like curate the lineup and they asked us to play. And it was just like, yeah, we get to play. Like, you don't get paid for it, but you spin a wheel at the end of the night and you might win. It's like a lottery, it like rolls over each week. And then someone eventually wins the jackpot and it can be like thousands of dollars, which is, I mean, we haven't won that yet. Otherwise, maybe we would upgrade our transport or something. But what I love is the fact that it's not just bands playing for bands, though, is that people go down there on a regular basis every week just to kind of see their buddies and hang out and check out live music, which is an amazing thing to see.
I know. Well, I know after COVID, I went to a pub and I can't remember where it was, somewhere in Calgary, and I just heard live music again. I'm like, oh my God, live music. I totally missed this.
Mm.
I miss seeing concerts and I miss seeing the live music. So,
I mean, it's amazing how much there is. Like, I kind of think of Calgary as still a relatively small city, but there's so many bands like bouncing around. And I think Calgary and maybe Alberta in general is because we're so far away from everywhere else.
mm,
I think the music fans know that if they don't support local music, there won't be any music. Like the big international acts don't come to Calgary as often as they do to Vancouver or Toronto or somewhere like LA or New York or London. When I was in London, there was days where there'd be three different bands playing at different venues, and I wanted to see all three of them. And you can't be in three places at once, so you just had to
mhm.
pick. And it was like, wow, I used to go to big band shows a couple of times a week, almost every week for a year. I was like, this is incredible. I was spoiled for choice. And that's why you don't go to local shows because, why are you going to go see your buddy's kind of crappy punk band when you could go see Green Day or something like that? It's an easy choice to make. But over here in Calgary, we just don't have those big bands. Like last big concert I went to was Sum 41, the Saddle Dome. I saw Mayday Parade and Simple Plan at the Stampede. And then there's a
Yeah.
few shows coming up, which I'm really stoked for. There's Mad Caddies and Comeback Kid. Descendants are playing as well. So some pretty big name punk rock bands. But that's like five shows in about 3 months. And I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a lot. I'm not as, some of my bandmates are a lot more tied into it than I am, but it means that Calgarians, we have to come together as a community and support live music. Otherwise, we won't have any.
I grew up in Calgary, but I was talking to a buddy of mine and I said, at one point we had amazing festivals and they would be at Fort Calgary. It's not called Fort Calgary anymore, but they had Virgin Fest, we had X Fest, we had good festivals that would have bands coming out. I remember seeing Blink 182 at the
Oh wow.
Saddle Dome, like years and years ago. This would be in 2001. Totally aging myself. But X Fest was going on and Virgin Fest, and they pretty much ran like all of 2000s. And then I think the last one was like maybe 2013, 14, maybe a little bit later than that. We used to have Race City Speedway, and that was something. A friend of mine looked at a poster the other day and he's like, we could go see the Foo Fighters. And this is when the Foo Fighters were still starting off. Like it was like Nirvana had ended, and then, David Grohl just started his Foo Fighter thing. And I think who was it? Maybe the Tea Party opened up for the Foo Fighters. Anyway, it was at Race City Speedway, which is now gone. $25 for a day festival. My goodness, we miss those days.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, concert tickets have just gone crazy. Like they're trying to find a band to see for less than $50 these days. Shows at the Dickens or Modern Love are like, this band isn't huge, but I mean they're big enough to be touring. So and yeah, $50 is kind of the standard, that's the minimum almost. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I guess that's inflation. Like the band has to be able to cover their costs from driving from the other side of the continent. And this is one thing, especially coming from the UK. I used to get mad that I'd have to drive like an hour and a half to get to a show. And then when I moved to the cities, it was like, oh, great, I can just walk across the city. That was great. And then you move to Canada and you're like, oh, right, yeah, this band are touring. I mean, I got friends right now in Toronto because they wanted to see System of a Down. And System are never going to come back to Calgary. I think they played here once, like 20 years ago when they first got kicking. And yeah, I guess they'll probably never come back. And it's like, yeah, if you want to see them, you got to fly for it. And then, of course, by the time you're including flights and hotels, I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars to go and see a band. And it certainly makes me miss the idea of, yeah, $25 to see the Foo Fighters would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I never got to go to Race City Speedway, so I'm kind of regretting those choices. I saw some 41 back at Mac Hall. Gosh, this would have been 2000, and I'm gonna age myself, like four, maybe. It was when their Does This Look Infected tour came out, and it was Billy Talent and Sum 41, and yeah, Sum 41 was just starting to get big. And we saw them at Mac Hall, I think probably for $25. So when I saw them at the Saddle Dome, because I was at the same concert probably back in January
Yeah.
for their final tour, I'm like, hey, I have to go. But even for the tickets, I don't want to pay $100 for. I love Sum 41, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, I saw them.
It's the same band. Why
And
am I
it was
paying
like
so
more
much more?
intimate. And it was a great concert, don't get me wrong. But when you kind of look back, you're like, okay, that was $25. I'm like, I don't want to pay $100 for a band. I love them, but I don't know. It's hard, right? And then you go Metallica and you're paying, you go up to Edmonton and you're paying a lot more now
Yeah.
than even I did when they came for their Saint Anger tour back in the day. So, no, it's
Yeah,
hard.
I always find it's ironic that the bigger the venue and therefore the more people that can fit in there, the more they charge for the ticket. And it's like, well, there's more of us, you can charge less. Like if they were playing at Dickens or something like that, like if it was Billy Talent and Sum 41 at Dickens or Molo or the Blocks, imagine them at the Ship and Anchor or something like that, just
Oh
like
man.
cramming in there and then watching that. I'd pay $100 for that show, that's for sure.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
you'd be like one
Absolutely.
of like what, like 50 people? Then you feel like you're really getting your money's worth. Yeah,
Well, that's why I go to the Stampede because every time they have the Stampede and Billy Talent was there last year, I'm like, $25? Yes, I will go see Billy Talent
100%.
at the Stampede. They were phenomenal. Again, I hadn't seen them since I think probably Mac Hall. And so I
Wow.
saw them again and they were great. So,
Yeah, I missed them there last year, but I remember when I've seen, I think, Alexis on Fire at Stampede at least twice, maybe three times. And it's just like, this is amazing. I remember when they played the old Coca-Cola stage on Thursday, like the special, like early opening day. And it was
yes.
like, it was only $10 to get in. And it was amazing walking around the grounds, just seeing all the old emo kids with their fringes and everything, like everyone wearing the studded belts. And you're like, you haven't worn that in years, but everyone pulled it out for the Alexis on Fire show. And I feel like everyone at the Stampede grounds was so confused, like, what's going on? Why is everybody wearing all black? And it's because you put one of the biggest kind of emo post-hardcore bands on for basically for free. Like, there you
Yeah.
go. That was an incredible show. That was so cool.
Oh, I mean, I've seen Dallas Green perform and he's
Yeah,
just
amazing.
so good. Yeah. Yeah, or City in Color. And then I was confused because I didn't realize when I first saw City in Color, I didn't realize it was Dallas Green from Alexis.
Oh, really?
So then I was so confused because my buddy had surprised me. He's like, Corinne, I got you surprise tickets for your birthday. And so we saw City in Color. And I'm like, okay, cool. And it took me a while. I'm like, who's City in Color? Oh, it's a play on Dallas Green. And then it took me a while because I'd see all these Alexis on Fire shirts. I'm like, City in Color. And I'm like, oh, wait, he's one of the singers. I get it now. I was just really special.
Yeah. That's amazing. But what an amazing surprise. You'd be like, oh, sweet, he's the guy from that band I really like.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I
And I
remember.
never really got into Alexis on Fire. So it was one of those things where I've listened to some of their songs, but I was never really a big fan. So I knew who they were. And then I see all these people wearing the Lexus on Fire shirts. I'm so confused right now. What's happening? But he was great. It was a great concert.
Mm.
But yeah, I know it's expensive now to go see
Well, he
what
played at the art, was it the art? Oh, I can't remember the name of the venue, but the big fancy place at the university with the big, where all the classical stuff happens.
oh,
That's
the
where
Rose Center.
not sure if that was the one.
Is that Mount Royal University?
No, it was the one by State. That's all I remember is hopping off the
Oh,
train
Jubilee.
state. Yeah, that's it. He played the Jubilee Hall and it was lovely. We got to sit down and I was like, as we get older, it's really nice to listen to music while sitting down.
Yes.
Especially City in Color. It's not like you're going to be jumping around and moshing to that. Really lovely, but that was probably the fifth time I seen him play. So yeah, it was incredible. But that was a really special one. And just, yeah, but very, very different vibe. You know, you've got like Alexis on Fire playing the Coca-Cola stage and just yelling at everybody. And then Dallas Green comes
Screaming.
back like a few years later and he's playing this beautiful classical venue. And it's like all seating and everyone's just like sitting there, you know, politely applauding at the end of the show. It's a very different vibe.
Oh yeah, and he's got a beautiful voice. So yeah. But actually, I was in Coachella. I was there for, I've never seen Green Day. And Green Day came to Calgary, I think, years and years ago, back in the 90s. And I think I was probably in junior high at the time or just started high school. And so I missed that concert. And one of my favorite bands of all time, I joke my friends all had the New Kids on the Block posters. Again, aging myself. But my first boy band poster was Green Day.
I mean, that's way more credible.
So it was
I'm
Green
down
Day.
for
Yeah,
that.
so Green Day, and then my first explicit CD was Offspring for the Smash album. So I've seen the Offspring have come to Calgary quite a few times, and every time they come, I try to go. But yeah, Green Day was one of those bands. I'm like, what band have I not seen? Green Day, and they actually announced it. They're like, we're playing at Coachella this year, and I'm like, done. Done. I don't care. And Lady Gaga ended up going. So I'm like, you know what? For the amount of money that I paid to go see this festival, honestly, it was worth it because just to see Lady Gaga in and of herself, like to go to Vegas to listen to her play, you're spending thousands of dollars. So I'm like, well, that's how much I spent for the weekend anyway. But I got to see Lady Gaga and Green Day and the Misfits and Kneecap and all these other bands that I haven't seen in a long time. And the nice thing about festivals, I have to say this, is that Green Day only has like 2.5 hours to play. So they played all their classics.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
It's
I
not
mean,
like a tour where you see some of these bands and like, we're gonna play all the new stuff from the new album, which is great, but so many of the fans are like, no, we want to hear the classics. And I find that really smart with those festivals. They're like, okay, you only have like 2.5 hours. You have to play your good stuff.
I love the idea that you're like only 2.5 hours. It's like, I mean, most of the bands that I go to see are like 45 minutes to an hour tops, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, the big festivals and things, yeah, you're obviously going to get those. I mean, if you're paying Green Day to show up, you might as well get them to play 2.5 hours because that seems like a long time to me. It's
Well, I
pretty.
mean, I guess. I don't know. Like, I feel like when you have like the main concert, right? They play for like a good couple hours at least.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends so much on the scene and the size of the venue. I think, like, if you're going to play the Saddle Dome, then yeah, I think people would feel a little ripped off if you only did 45 minutes. But yeah, come down to blocks and see the headliners there, and you're like, yeah, maybe an hour tops kind of thing. But I mean, smaller bands, they usually have less of a back catalog. You don't have to worry about all the legacy stuff and being like, yeah, we're going to play all of these old tracks from all of these old albums. We've only got one album, we're just going to play that. And even if we play all of them in full, it's still only going to take 45 minutes. So I guess if you want us to fill an hour, we're just going to have to do a lot of chatting.
Or we end up doing a couple covers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then whoever was not like the headliner, they'd only have to play an hour. I saw T-Pain and Missy Elliott, and they were probably an hour, maybe a little bit more than that. But again, they are hitting their classics. They're hitting all the fan favorites because they only have so much time. So I was like, this is great because you can hear all the fan favorites. It's not going to be any of this new stuff. Maybe one new song, but that's all they have time for.
Yeah. Fair
So
enough.
yeah, so it was pretty good. I highly recommend. I love festivals anyway, and I loved them when they were in Calgary. Like I thought it was just brilliant that Calgary had so many, but I feel like the festival scene has kind of died, especially for rock and roll.
There seems to be a lot of little ones that are kind of trying to get going. So Frankenfest is kind of like a horror fest thing, but this is down on the other side of Lethbridge, so it's a bit of a drive away out of Calgary. It was really good fun. They're still building up the reputation and things. Moments Fest has been going on for years, but still not quite as big as it could be. Maybe they need to get in some bigger headliners and things like that in order to draw people out of the city. Getting local bands is great. Like, I really love the fact that they support so much of the local music scene, but it doesn't necessarily get, especially when we're based in Calgary. We were playing Calgary the night after. We played down on Pin Bar on 17th. So all of our friends, instead of coming out to Moments Fest to check us out, they just watched us play at Pin Bar. It's kind of frustrating. I would love it if you came to both, but at the same time, it's expensive to drive out there and buy tickets and all that sort of stuff, especially just as like you don't want to see the same band twice in 2 days. Or most people don't. Like there's a few people that are pretty
Unless you're
obsessive.
really good friends. You have good friends who
Either
are like, we really like your music. We will come in.
yeah, you've either got to be really good friends or you have to be a really good band. And we're not quite there just yet, but we're working on it. It's just so expensive to get. You've got to like insurance and security. There's so much red tape. I feel like a lot of that is going to scare people away. And then, yeah, bands with inflation and everything, you've really got to make sure you can guarantee a certain amount of tickets sold and a big enough venue that you can then host it. I'm surprised that there isn't something in the Stampede grounds or something like that. Coca-Cola stage is a great stage. It would be enough to just do something there, maybe have a little side stage as well, so you can kind of alternate between like local bands and bigger name acts. It's right there in the city. You got the transit runs right there. But yeah, I imagine it's just a case of like how much money do you have to invest and how much do you dare risk? It feels like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal again, these cities, maybe because they're closer to other major cities in North America, they can kind of get away with it. Because I know Pouzza Fest over in Montreal seems to be doing really well every year. But then I'm not sure if Montebello Rock Fest is still going. I went to that a few years back, but that was a really good fun one out in the countryside in Quebec. It was amazing that actually that was I saw Sum 41 there as well as I forgot about that. I forgot that they played that one, but yeah, that was a great little festival and amazing. It seems like Alberta's just kind of being forgotten. Going back to what I was saying about Calgary has to like really focus back in on itself. But I mean, we have the Folk Fest, we have Sled Island as well. Every year I volunteer to help out at Sled Island. I get a free wristband that allows me to go to all of the shows, and I only ever go to the shows that I'm working at because I'm always doing my day job as well, and I just don't have enough time to squeeze in anything anymore. But I really love the Sled Island guys. They're such a great bunch, and they bring so many amazing bands across. It's kind of like the Fringe Festival where it's not a big stage. It's not crazy huge headliners or anything like this. But if you're into your indie rock and that sort of thing, and punk rock, to be fair, they usually bring some amazing artists over. So it's really cool to see. And for me, it's an amazing chance to kind of network and get to meet some people and spend some time hanging out at the venues. I'm looking forward to hopefully my band will be playing it this year or next year, I should say, because it's already gone for this year. So look out for us at Sled Island next year, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Sled Island. I don't think I've ever been to that one, and it's been around for quite some time.
Yeah, I think their model is a lot less risky than rather than hiring out a really big venue and then having to fill it, they've got lots of little venues and they're kind of like spread betting instead of like sticking it all on black. They're kind of spreading their bets a little bit. And it's like, if we book this band and this band and this band and this band and this band between them all, hopefully that'll kind of generate enough money. And I also think they've got a great attitude where it's like I kind of make a list of all the big festivals going around, and there's a big festival kind of train that like follows around through the US, but it's
Mhm.
all about the money. It's all about big sponsorships, big bands, and expensive tickets and stuff like this. And it's similar to the way Warp Tour used to be, where it would travel around from city to city, but this is only like it's every weekend for like 5 weeks, I think. I can't remember. There's a bunch of them and they each have different names, but it's all the same company running it. And you can tell it's for profit, whereas something like Sled Island is done for the love. I just hope that they make enough money every year that they come back again the year after. But yeah, the team that runs that they're super lovely. I just love being able to be part of that. It's really nice.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I volunteer at Reggae Fest. I couldn't do it this year, but they were around and then they stopped for a long time. But I volunteered for like 10 years at Reggae Fest
Oh,
and
nice.
then they stopped and then they're back now. But yeah, I couldn't make it this time and I was so sad. But I usually do the green room. So I've met so many artists
Mm.
that way. Like I will
Amazing.
give you alcohol and make you drunk and I will get to know you a little bit better.
Perfect.
It's a fun vibe. To volunteer at a music festival is always a fun vibe. And I always just loved it. And I was never really into reggae music, but someone had suggested you should just volunteer and find places to volunteer. So I volunteered at Fringe Fest one year. And that year it was the same year I volunteered for Reggae Fest and a couple other like the movie festival in Calgary. So I did a few of those things one year and I just was like, okay, what resonates with me? And Reggae Fest actually was one of the ones that I stayed at for quite some time.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of volunteer at festivals. Help them out as much as you possibly can. And people are, oh, well, you're just working, you're not getting paid. I don't care. I'm helping. It's part of that community thing of making sure that these festivals come back next year. They really do rely on volunteers. And as much as I'm not getting very much value out of my ticket, I'm just glad to be part of it. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. And yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, I really should volunteer for Reggae Fest as well, because that sounds super cool. I feel like my reggae adjacent band might be able to sneak in there one day as well. Because I mean, like realistically, I mean, I'm there to network too. Like
Yeah.
knowing a couple of people at Sled Island, I'm fairly confident I can sneak my band in there too. I'm looking forward to hopefully playing it. They'll probably put us on the smallest stage at the earliest slot just to be able to say we played it. It will be enough for me. It's really good stuff. I'm trying to encourage more people, trying to get the bandmates as well to like just come down and see some shows, spend a bit of money, volunteer if they can. It's a great way to do it. It just means you can network, you can kind of use those connections, but also just help the community. But yeah, Sled's great. I love the guys who run that.
Oh, that's amazing. How did you meet your bandmates for the Petty Larceneers?
Yeah, Facebook, honestly. So the guitarist and the drummer were in another band. That band was kind of having some hiccups and they were playing kind of grungy music and they wanted to play more punk rock style of music. So they were like, let's try and find somebody else. So I go down, I play with them and I'm like, yeah, these guys are all right. At first I was like, I'm not 100%, but they were really fun to hang out with. So I was like, yeah. Why not? Let's keep on playing. I had a few ideas kind of kicking around. And for a while, it was just the three of us. And we were like, well, we need a vocalist. Rebecca, the drummer, she's absolutely amazing. Big part of the community. She knows so many people in the music scene here in Calgary. And she used to go to Rockin' for Dollars. She met this girl who was doing acoustic singer-songwriter stuff. Really, really beautiful voice, amazing stuff. And Rebecca just was like, hey, do you want to come sing for a punk rock band, like and play some music? This chick was like, yeah. Anyway, so that was Ella, who is now our lead singer and saxophonist. That kind of like made the core four. Then we added Jamie on trombone once we realized we needed a bit more of the horns. We just kind of put up another Facebook ad and I found some people who were keen, and Jamie just seemed to fit the bill perfectly. Now we're a nice five piece. Every now and again, we talk about trying to find someone who can play trumpet, but I feel like adding another person just makes. I always say that being in a band with people is like being in a relationship. But it's sort of like being in a relationship with four people simultaneously and trying to organize stuff, trying to get messages across without hurting each other's feelings and taking account into everybody's personal opinion, especially when you're out on tour. We're all a little cranky, a little tired, and we're just like, all right, Ella, our vocalist, is a celiac and has a really bad allergy to gluten. And it's like,
Mm.
where can you eat? And that's the first thing we have to ask. Where are we going to go get food? And it's like, nowhere in Lethbridge whatsoever. Just not a place. It was like a Sunday morning, and all of the gluten-free places were just closed for the weekend. And it was like, I guess our vocalist doesn't get to eat this morning. So we had to swing by and grab some snacks here and there. I think actually the place we ended up going, and she managed to find us some food for her, and she didn't die, which is great.
Yay! No, she survived another day.
Yeah, that's it. It's just like part of being on tour and kind of catering for each person. You have to kind of factor in each person's wants and needs. Jamie, our trombonist that I just mentioned, actually is a big part of the Pride scene. In fact, actually, I should say Rebecca and Ella are both big proponents of that too. Me and Alan, the guitarist, we do our best to support. We're not quite as involved as they are, but Jamie especially. So Jamie drove down from Calgary all the way down to Frankenfest, which is the far side of Lethbridge, and drove all the way back up again so she could be, or they could be part of the parade, which is amazing.
That's
So props to them for their dedication, both to us and also the Pride thing. So yeah, we're really stoked to have them involved in the band.
That's cool. Yeah, I know. When you're just talking about all the band traveling, I mean, I wasn't part of a rock band, but I was part of big bands, like marching bands and catering. It's hard because even with 150 of us traveling around, they would be like, okay, everyone just disperse. And you'd have your little group of friends. But I remember we were in London and I remember my friend getting so angry because half of us couldn't, like, there was about probably 10, 15 of us as a group, and we were all just wandering around. And my friend Jamie was just getting so hangry. And she's like, I just want to fucking eat. I don't care where we eat as long as we eat. And she was just getting hangrier and hangrier. And 100 out of 150, just like I said, 10, 15 of us. And like those people couldn't even decide of what to eat. So yeah, when you go into smaller groups, it can get pretty feisty. And then you just get to a point you're like, okay, we're all just gonna disperse and then we'll just meet back
Yeah.
as we can't get along.
It's one of the strange things that I found is like working as a tour guide. If you tell everyone to go one place, they all just follow like ducklings. And the bigger the group, the more they just obey because they don't want to be left out. They don't want to get lost behind. You talk to three people and say, do you want to go there for food? They sell pizza. And they're like, I don't fancy pizza. With a smaller band, we're all equal. Like we're very adamant that nobody is more important than anybody else here. Nobody gets to make the decisions. We all try and cater for everybody. And that's where it gets tricky. That's why your friend was getting hangry because you got half the people saying like, "Oh, we want ramen," the other half want barbecue food. There's no such thing as barbecued ramen. So where are we gonna go?
And it just
Yeah,
gets to a point where people get picky in England because it's fish and chips and bar food, and they're like, we're over it. I'm like, no, we have to eat somewhere. Just find a place. You're right. When they say, hey, everyone, you just have to go here, everyone's like, yes, we're good with that.
yeah,
Don't give us the choices, just force us to do this. Because I've been on travel tours too, and they're like, we are all going here for dinner. Okay. Like, no one can
yeah,
complain about it because that's where we're going. When they give you more choices and they're like, just disperse. You're right. That's, I think, when they have the
yeah.
little bit more issues.
I will say, however, the UK does have better food than we have the reputation for. I'm a strong proponent that the UK actually does have some good food. You just have to try and get away from the touristy spots. I love British food. It's one of the biggest things that I miss about back home. No one believes me. Everyone assumes that English food is terrible but it's only terrible in comparison to most of the rest of Europe, to be fair. Compared to North American food, oh, it's pristine. It's amazing over there.
Well, I mean, the curries were always really good, but you get bangers and mash, and I don't know. The
Yeah, there's the classics, but we do have other things too. I mean, you're not
Yorkshire
wrong.
puddings, though, those like I have to admit, those were delicious.
Did you ever try a toad in the hole? That is
What's
basically, so it's sausages in Yorkshire puddings, but it's a big tray of Yorkshire pudding, one giant Yorkshire pudding with a whole bunch of with sausages like being cooked and like almost like a sausage casserole with
okay?
this like Yorkshire pudding material on the top. It's fantastic. It's basically combining Yorkshire puddings and sausages, and only British people make good sausages. And if there's any Germans out there, I know you're gonna be like, what are you talking about? But German sausages compared to British sausages, every day. Proper like Cumberland sausage, amazing. You can't get them over here. It's so hard to find a good place. There's that pub down in Kensington. I go in there and I'm like, yeah, I'll have the bangers and mash. I'll give it another try. It's just not the same. It's
It's
just
not
not
the
the
same.
same.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah.
there's always something, right? There's always the things. I mean, the blood pudding, no thank you. That was always But the carveries, though, in England, I remember going to some of those carveries. Those were amazing.
Oh,
I
did
love
you
them.
like them? But I don't know. I never got along with them because I guess maybe I was spoiled as a kid, but my mom used to just make the most amazing roast dinners.
Mm.
And so we'd go to the carvery and people are like, oh yeah, they have that. And if it's not identical to what my mom used to make, then it's just not good at all. So I'm out. I never quite get along with the carveries as much as some people. But some people they will die on that hill over how good the carveries are, but not me. I'm not one of those guys. But
I
I mean
think it
it.
just depended on where you went for the carvery, but
That's true. Yeah, there's definitely better places and worse places. There were some really good ones, but never as good as home cooked, proper Sunday
no.
roast. I was raised in a fairly traditional family, so my mom did a lot of the cooking. And yeah, every Sunday we had a beautiful roast, and I'm very happy to have that. Certainly miss those now that I'm over here.
Oh, I bet. So when you were in Australia, did you do any music while you were there?
A tiny amount, yeah. While I was there, I kind of realized I hadn't played for months and months. I didn't even have a guitar with me. I didn't want to be that guy at the backpackers hostel with the guitar singing song. Especially like I'm not a great vocalist. I do backing vocals for a very good reason. I don't have the voice for a lead singer. So yeah, I didn't really play much. And then when I moved to Melbourne, I got a kind of more permanent job. I was there for kind of 5 months in total. And I was like, yeah, let's play some music again. But it was just a covers band. Oh, geez, I don't even remember the guys, like the names of the guys that I was playing with. We were just jamming around, probably like 3 or 4 times, but yeah, nothing too major there. I played a little bit more music in New Zealand. I tried to do some open mic nights and stuff like that, but nothing too major there for sure.
Yeah. And what was the music scene like in Melbourne and Auckland?
Oh, I was in Queenstown when I was in
Oh,
New Zealand.
Queenstown.
Yeah, I mean Queenstown's a tourist town, so covers bands for the most part. It's very small, very tiny, very transient as well. But there was one of the bars in town had like I think it was basically the same band like every single night playing the same set list every single night. They were amazing musicians. They knew exactly how to please a crowd of young travelers. Like they played a lot of pop and rock and stuff like that. So nothing too crazy. They were very good at what they did. And that was kind of the scene. Occasionally you'd get a few country artists here and there, but I'm not a country fan. Europeans, we don't get country. We have folk, and that's our variation, but country is not for me. Melbourne was a bit different. They definitely had a bit of a music scene, but I was very much out of it. I went to see a few of the bigger shows, and there were some British bands that came across while I was there, and I went to see those guys. Great. But it's big bands, sold out venues. So, and then I remember there was the Pony, which is this super dingy late night bar that always had some kind of indie punk kind of band playing. I don't remember anything about any of them because we'd only ever go there when it was like super late. I don't drink, my friends certainly do. And we'd end up with a pony at like 2 o'clock in the morning and we were just like squished into this tiny sweaty room, absolutely caked in like filth. And the people were going crazy, but I don't know if that's because they were high on something or just really drunk, or maybe the bands were amazing. But yeah, we would kind of like stick our heads in and be like, you know what, I need to be able to breathe. So let's check out one of the other rooms. But yeah, that place was, I think, a bit of an infamous place. Glad I got to go there, that's for sure, and check it out. Not somewhere that I missed, that's for sure.
So, Ben, do you have any advice for anyone starting off as a band in Calgary?
Oh, 100%. Rocking for dollars all the way. It just seems to be the best place to meet other bands, other starting bands. And like I said, you can just play. You only have to do 15 minutes. You can play covers if you want. And it's all ages as well. I've seen some amazing. There's a band called the Medusas, all female, amazing band. They just kick ass. We played a few shows with them. I think they started off at Rocking for Dollars. There's also the School of Rock, which is not something that we have back in Europe. It's literally they teach you how to play music, but they teach you how to play rock music, and they'll get you together and you just yeah. I mean, if you're not in a band now, then the first thing to do is just find some people to play with. Preferably, you want to find people around about the same sort of level as you are, as far as your playing ability, and around about the same sort of age as you are. If you're a 16-year-old kid, then it's best to be starting bands with other 16-year-olds. That way, you kind of got similar interests and stuff. Every now and again, you get like a 40 or 50-year-old dude and some 18-year-old kid. But hey, I mean, if it works, it works. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that you can't just be good at your instrument, you have to be good at playing in a band, and the only way to practice that is to just play. So yeah, play as much as you can with your friends, with the local people. If you're good, maybe you're an international traveler like myself, and you come down to Calgary and you want to, meet some people who want to play some music. The open mic nights, the Ironwood down in Inglewood is a good little spot. There's a few others around. Just go and play the open mic nights, jam around, meet some people, and then once you've found a few folks, kind of get together, practice, play something like Rocking for Dollars or get a few shows under your feet so you kind of feel a bit more confident. And then once you've been playing that a bit, Then you'll get to know a few more people and you can start trying to get onto like kind of the more local shows, supporting other local bands and that sort of thing. But yeah, there's an amazing amount of venues. There's the Rec Room up in the Northeast is an amazing stage, really, really lovely venue. And the fact that it's up in the Northeast, as far as I know, it's the only place up there that does shows. So that's a good little spot. And then you got Blocks, you got Modern Love, you got Ship and Anchor, and a whole bunch of other places that just kind of put on like odd shows. Loophole Coffee House as well. I haven't been able to get down there yet, but I've had a lot of our friends' bands have played there. Just go to shows and chat to bands. I mean, I'm a harsh critic. I usually keep it inside my head, but every now and again you'll see a band and you're like, this band would be great if they had one more guitarist or something like that. And if you're a guitarist, you could go see these bands that are still forming, still working on stuff, and basically say, hey, you guys are really good, but I think you need another guitarist. I'm a guitarist. Can I join your band? There's no reason why not, The worst thing they're going to do is say, nah, we're good, but, you know. The best thing to do is just play music. I've played it in so many bands over the years. I would struggle to name them all. But it's all experience, and experience is the number one thing that is going to help you out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's amazing. So where can people find the Petty Larceneers?
So on Instagram, that's probably the best spot. So it's the.petty.larceneers. Larceneers, Larcen, Larsen, EERS. It's a play on petty larceny. It's very punk rock. The joke is that we keep on stealing stuff. We don't tend to steal too much stuff, but maybe a little bit. That's why it's petty, you see. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook as well. We're currently in the process of getting some music recorded by a good friend of us, Max Mann. He's an amazing musician and incredible producer as well, so he's helping us out there. So hopefully we'll have some stuff live soon, maybe even by the time this podcast goes out, in which case we'll be on Bandcamp and SoundCloud and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, search the Petty Larceneers and you should be able to find us. We're taking a bit of a break through September, but we're playing up in Banff on the 7th, which is Pride Week. We're playing with some good friends, Glitter Glue, and a couple of other local bands up in Banff. And it's always good fun for me because it's like a homecoming show. I love playing up in Banff.
Then when are you going to be back in Calgary? Do you know?
So we haven't got any shows booked just yet. We want to write some new songs. We definitely want to be focusing, especially after our tour, but I'm sure we'll be playing some shows kind of through October. We usually try and limit it to just like one, maybe two a month. And then that way we're not like oversaturating our audience. Otherwise, I think even the boyfriends and girlfriends start to get a little bit sick of showing up to shows then. Hopefully we'll have a couple more in October and then through into November, December too, but nothing booked as yet. So if you're a venue or if you're a band looking for some support, let us know. Hook us up.
That's amazing. So I will put all your links in the show notes so people can find you, listen to you guys on SoundCloud, find you on Instagram. Any final words before we sign off?
I mean, just support the community, folks. If you like live music, if you play live music, this is one thing that used to bug me so much in the UK is bands supporting other bands. If you're in a band and you're playing a show, watch the other bands, get down the front, dance around. If you do that, they'll do the same for you, or they should do the same for you. Check them out, make contacts, chat. The more we support each other, the more other people will enjoy these shows, and the more you will enjoy the success that comes with actually having a bit of a dance and stuff. I played far too many empty rooms while another band is outside having cigarettes. Whereas here in Calgary, everybody's so supportive. It's really, really lovely. So keep that ball rolling, folks. And just play more music, come to more shows, do more stuff.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you, Ben, so much for coming and being a guest today. I am grateful that you're here, and it was such a beautiful conversation. So everyone check out the Petty Larceneers. And like I said, I will put their contact info in the show notes so you can listen to them on SoundCloud and follow them on Instagram. So thank you, everyone, and stay connected, and I'll see you next time. Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Corinne.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode. I hope today's conversation sparked something new and reminded you of the power of connection. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode and podcast with others, and continue spreading the message of unity across all walks of life. Until next time, stay connected.